what you've been saying connects to what some people of a Haredi orientation sometimes like to say that, well, we really can't do this or that mitzvah regarding Eretz Yisrael because we don't have enough zchuyot, we don't have
Mhm.
enough merit to do that, and therefore the only harm can come from attempting to do so.
Yeah, you definitely hear that argument. And I think that there's a tendency to make that argument, especially when uh, one takes a an imbalanced view. I think when I use the term imbalanced, I mean out of balance or out of joint with what seems to be the recommendation of the Torah and of Tanakh that sees uh, zchuyot or merits as kind of a substitute for real actions, meaning that if you have enough zchuyot that which come from things like how kosher your food is and how deep your study of Torah is for its own sake, and how punctilious your keeping of the Sabbath is, etc. Like there, you get zchuyot, and from those zchuyot, you, in a way that is mechanistically impossible to understand and therefore has a kind of a magical quality to it, you bring about other events that seem to have nothing to do with those things, and you don't need to sort of, so to speak, have a shot be fired. It's like you can eventually conquer the land of Israel without any effort. Usually is what people kind of associate with conquest, things like acquiring weapons and amassing an army and putting people at risk and engaging in fighting and things like that. You don't have to do that if you just have enough merit. And until you have enough merit, you won't be able to succeed. And so it becomes this kind of self-fulfilling perfect theorem that we have to remain in galut until galut magically ends by a mechanism we don't comprehend. And I think you could spend hours listing examples in the Torah of how we're it's demonstrated to us, either if we think in terms of halacha or if we think in terms of narrative, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to actually be mit halech lifanav, like to go out before him and to take action. And that if we, for example, refuse to go juice grapes and make wine so that we can have wine for Kiddush and then say afterwards, well, Hashem didn't want me to have wine for Kiddush because it didn't magically appear, that's obviously a silly way to behave, because the obligation to perform the mitzvah puts on us the responsibility of figuring out how one reasonably accomplishes the mitzvah in this world and trying to do it. And then if we try to do it, and we fail, we can say, okay, Hashem wanted me to fail today. And if we succeed, then we can have the merit of doing the mitzvah. And I think that obviously works also with mitzvah to do with the mitzvot that have to do with the land, including conquest of the land. And so it would not make sense to say, well, if I want to eventually come to the land, then I'll just stay outside the land and intensify the kashrut of the food that I'm eating or something like that. And then if Hashem wants me to come to the land, then it will somehow happen by a way I can't comprehend. I have to try to go there. And maybe if it seems dangerous, I have a mitzvah obligation to protect life. And so I have to, bring weapons, et cetera, et cetera. And so you definitely have, I think, a way of constructing an argument that's perfectly consistent with endless galut until a miraculous end of galut. But I don't think you can actually make that argument from within either halacha when it applies to other mitzvot or narrative examples that we see all over the place from the models that Tanakh provides for us. And so it seems much more, and I mean, especially the verses that we started off with, it seems black on white. That's just saying, don't wait until you are perfectly righteous before taking hold of the land. That is not the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to take hold of the land despite being a stiff-necked people who are not yet righteous enough. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will arrange it so that when you do so, it will still be fair that you're doing that, because the people you're taking the land from will definitely be lacking in righteousness enough that it won't seem like some kind of inversion or terrible disgrace that an unrighteous and imperfect Am Yisrael are taking the land from some kind of accidentally righteous and perfect people who resemble what we should become.